Hi there. I'm Brianna Bowling. I'm the founder of Retreat and Learn. Now, if you like some of these interviews that we're doing, these educational interviews, I need your help. I need you to help spread the word. You need to hit subscribe on YouTube. It's right down there if you're down on YouTube. You need to follow us on Facebook. And even more important, share them with your friends. So while we are live, you can post questions in the comments, and Woody will be answering those questions live while we are live. So spring is here, right? Days are getting longer, it's getting warmer, and I'm getting the itch to put roots into the soil. There's nothing like growing and eating the food that you grow yourself. But what if you live in a city or a suburb? Can you still grow your own food? And the answer is yes. Of course it is, because that's why we're here talking about this. So today we have Woody DeLauder, who, along with his wife Janine and his son Arlo, they run Rootbound Farms in La Plata, Maryland. They harvest hundreds of pounds of food from their suburban farm using no-till methods. So I'm going to bring in Woody, and yay, thanks for being here, Woody.
How's it going? Thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate this.
Well, I'm really glad that you're here to help share some knowledge with everybody. It's a really, especially this time of year. This is when everybody's starting to think about it.
I'll share as much as I can.
Oh, you will. So I thought what we would start with is actually the people that are a little bit more difficult. Like, not that they're difficult people, but they're difficult situation. What about somebody in the city? They literally only have a patio or a balcony. What can they grow?
Well, if you're in a city, I would tend to think that you would want to grow up. In other words, if you're growing tomatoes, you'd want to try to find a way to trellis the tomatoes up. And there's multiple methods of trellising tomatoes up. Good crops to grow would be tomatoes, cucumbers, any kind of leafy green vegetable would be great. You don't need a lot of space. You could even grow lettuce in a 10 by 20 flat. You can put a little bit of substrate or soil in there.
All right. Well, wait. Woody, you're talking big words here. What's substrate? What's
substrate?
A flat?
Sorry. So if you've ever been to a nursery, any big box nursery or small nursery, you'll see plants, vegetable plants, usually in a black plastic tray. And it's usually 10 inches by 20 inches. So in the industry, we call that a 10 by 20 or a 10-20.
Okay.
So a 10 by 20 flat, you can buy those anywhere. You can buy them at your local hardware store, buy them at, I'm not going to mention the big box stores, but you know what I'm talking about. You can buy those 10 by 20 flats, fill them up with soil, and just sprinkle different types of lettuce seeds on them. Put them outside, water them, and let the lettuce grow. Lettuce and leafy green crops like that don't have very deep root penetration. Okay. So if you have 2 or 3 inches of soil, that's plenty for those roots to grow. So back to the original question. Living in a city, normally if you had a patio, if you had a small backyard, as long as you have enough water, sun, and seeds, you're going to be good to go. And that's kind of our goal at Rootbound Farms, is to try to get everyone to understand that you can grow enough food for you and your family anywhere. Not necessarily enough food to sell like we do at the farmer's market, because if you have very limited space, if you live in a city, it would be kind of hard to grow enough for you to actually sell. Right. But you could grow enough food for yourself as far as vegetables, I would assume.
Okay, that's pretty good. So the flat, I'm going to go back to that one because you just said something that I didn't actually know. So in that flat of soil, when you have that little flat of soil, you can grow lettuce the entire time in there. Like you don't have to transplant it out. You can grow lettuce to maturity in a flat, or to make sure I understand that.
Yes, you can.
Wow. Okay.
So yes, almost any kind of lettuce. Like I'm trying to think. Not necessarily. So let me be specific. More leaf lettuces. So maybe like head lettuces, like romaines and icebergs, and any kind of big head lettuce, I would probably stay away from that. But all these seed companies like Baker Creek Seeds, Johnny Seeds, Eden Brothers, Seed Savers Exchange, all these seed companies have a plethora of seeds that you can buy for lettuces. I mean, there are literally thousands of different types of lettuces, and you would want to go to the variety of leaf lettuce. Leaf lettuce is the type of lettuce that is not necessarily going to be a head. You're going to cut it down and you're going to buy it like in a bag. If you've ever been to like a big grocery store and you have the big plastic containers of spinach or the
Mhm.
big plastic containers of different types of greens, that would be the type of lettuce I'm talking about. So it's usually a mix, and you can just cut it off. And what's really cool is those crops are called cut and come again crops. A lot of times you can cut them once, let them grow up over 2 weeks, cut them again, let them grow up
Wow.
another 2 weeks. It's usually three cuts, and it starts getting a little bitter. But
Okay.
yeah, so that term cut and come again crop is, it means a crop that you can cut down, harvest, eat or sell, and then wait another 2 weeks or so, cut it again, because it will continue to grow.
Okay. So
Continue
on
to
a
grow.
patio or a container type of garden, then you think lettuce and tomatoes are probably their best bets.
I
Anything
would say
else? Any
because
other types?
any kind of bean, anything that trellises up, anything that climbs would be really good for a patio because with limited space, you wouldn't want to grow out. The worst type of vegetable or fruit you would want to grow would be watermelon, cantaloupe, anything that's going to need. I mean, I don't know if anyone on here has ever grown watermelon, but one watermelon plant can take up to like 50 square feet.
Okay.
So that would be something, that would be something that you want to stay away from and that's something that we have only grown last year because Arlo, our son, wanted to grow it in his garden. So we did. And we got 3 watermelons and that was it.
Okay. Yeah, but
So,
fun. Some of this is also teaching our kids how to
yep.
do things and getting them
Yep.
excited. So that was a good move, I think.
Yep.
So in your garden, explain a little bit about your garden. A lot of people watching do not understand what it is that you're doing. When we talk about suburban garden and we look at Rootbound Farms, I mean, I'm thinking
Yep.
Rootbound Farms, you probably have what, like 50 acres that you're growing all this stuff
Yeah,
on?
exactly. We have 75 acres out back. No, we are actually in a subdivision. We have actually 0.78 acres. So we have 78 hundredths of an acre, just shy of an acre. We grow on about 5,000 square feet right now, including what we call the earth garden, our hoop house, and our nursery greenhouse that was new. I newly constructed that last year, where we start all of our plant starts. So we have about 5,000 square feet. So the size of a large house we have that we
Wow.
grow on.
Okay.
And in that, we it's about half of our backyard. We also have 10 chickens too, by the way. So we also have chickens in the backyard, which share the other space that's not taken up by the farm. But in that, we have 10 35-foot beds, and we are very meticulous. We have each bed is about 30 to 35 feet, and each one is 3 feet, 36 inches wide exactly. And each walkway is filled with wood chips, and it's exactly 12 inches. So I wear size 12 shoes, and it's extremely hard just for me to get in the walkway. So, and I'm a big guy, I'm about 290 pounds. So it's extremely difficult for me to get in some of these spaces, but we make it work. And in these beds, this year we're growing everything from we have red Pontiac potatoes, we have 5 different types of lettuce, we grew snap peas, we have 3 different types of green beans. We have let me see, we have red Pontiac potatoes, we have Kennebec potatoes, we have 3 beds of garlic that we planted, that we overwintered, that we planted last October and have been in the ground since then, and they will be probably ready in July for harvest. What else do we have? I'm trying to think of anything else that we've planted so far. We have 4 blueberry bushes. Those are
Okay.
Arlo's, by the way. But we've also started probably about 3,500 seeds, plant starts in our nursery greenhouse. So we have everything from German chamomile to 6 different types of cherry tomatoes.
So what's a plant start?
Okay. So we start everything on our farm from seed. So we buy our seeds. We know where we buy our seeds. We use about 4 different seed companies. We buy organic seeds. We place them into one of those 10 by 20 flats that we talked about. Inside those 10 by 20 flats, we will put a cell tray. Now each one of them, just think of each cell tray as a little tiny seed, a little spot for a seed and some soil. And we use 128. So each 10 by 20 flat has 128 plants. We
Okay.
put the seed in, we put it in nice plant starting mix, we water it, and all of them right now. I wish I really wanted to do this out from the nursery greenhouse, but my internet was not good out there.
Right.
That was my goal, to get it out there, but it didn't work, because I could be showing you guys all of this right now, and it'd be so much easier to talk about it while I was showing it. But so we nurture those seeds until they're big enough, 2 or 3 inches, to be able to repot into about a 3 or 4 inch pot. And what we're going to do at the market is we sell those. So that's part of our income stream for our farm, is selling plant starts that we start from seed. But a lot of those also that we don't sell, we end up planting in our own farm and growing. So yeah, so when you hear seed start or plant start, that's we're starting it from seed. We're not going to go out. Very rarely do we ever go out and buy a plant and do anything on our farm with the plant that we buy from anywhere. We usually start everything from seed.
Okay, so somebody who's maybe they haven't ever created their own garden, they're starting their garden for the very first time, and they're in a nice suburban lot, and so they're going
Mhm.
to create their very first garden. I have a bunch of questions about that. One
Okay.
is, um, what do they need to do to prepare that earth before they plant?
Great question. Because when we moved into this house, we had very hard pan, sandy. It was almost like clay, actually. It was clay. It was really hard soil, and it was horrible to plant in. It was the type of soil that you shove the shovel down into, and you really have to step on the shovel to be
Mhm.
able to do anything with. So immediately I started doing a little bit of research, and I started looking into different methods. Like back to Eden is one of them, and I'll explain that in a minute. And also no till. What these methods do is they try as hard as they can to emulate nature. So the back to Eden method is what's they look at what's working out in the forest.
Mhm.
And what normally happens: leaves fall on the ground, trees fall down, they become part of the soil. Nobody messes with it, and the trees continue to flourish, they continue to grow. So that's the back to Eden method. It's plain and simple. It's not very difficult to think about when you think of back to Eden. It's like back to the beginning. Keep
Right.
it basic. Um, Also, we do no till. Now, what no till does, I was just explaining this to somebody earlier today. When you till when you till up a farm, or you till up the soil, what you're doing is you're really disturbing the soil about 8 to 12 inches down. And when you do that, you are killing earthworms. You're destroying a lot of the natural um, microorganisms that are already in the soil that need to be there for the soil to be healthy soil. Uh, you're also doing something huge, and this is the whole reason why there's chemicals like Roundup and all of these herbicides that are out there. What you do when you till is you bring up dormant seeds that are invasive, that are what you would call weeds. Okay. And there are thousands of them, and they're dormant because they're 8 inches under the soil, and they can't grow up. But when you bring them to the surface, they do grow up. So, they start growing. And this is so farmers, 40, 50 years ago, when they tilled, they realized, oh, well, how are we going to get rid of the weeds? So they started figuring out all these chemicals that they could throw on it to get rid of the weeds. So it's kind of like they mess with Mother Nature too much, to the point where now they have to do another step.
Right.
So our goal to build our soil is to bring in wood chips, and we've been doing it. We've gotten in touch with 10 to 12 different um, tree companies, and tree companies are more than glad to come and just drop off and dump their wood chips in your side yard so you can use them. Some of my neighbors might not be too happy about that, but they haven't complained yet. But we have probably, I don't know. I mean, over the last 5 years, we've probably gotten 30 deliveries of wood chips, and each delivery is probably 10 to 15 yards of wood chips. We have built up our soil so much in our backyard with mushroom compost and wood chips that if you go to dig down in that soil right now in our earth garden, it is about 12 to 18 inches deep of just pure black composted soil. It is amazing. And earthworms are everywhere, which a lot of people don't want earthworms and all those things, but they are very beneficial to the soil. So that's how we built our soil. Our soil is no longer that hard pan clay soil anymore. It is rich, deep, dark, and it's literally black soil. So we're pretty
Okay.
proud of our soil.
No, you should be. I mean, it's
Yeah,
really tough to get good soil. So
yeah,
once you have the soil prepared, and obviously
yep.
if they're trying to plant in April, they're probably not going to be able to do a whole lot,
No,
in terms of
no,
composting. So if they want to plant a garden this year, is there
yes.
anything they can do to get that soil prepped quickly and or at least a small area prepped?
Um, I would recommend, and a lot of people have asked me this question recently. And a very huge emphasis on raised beds. Raised beds are the way to go. When you're first starting out, because it's really simple, and it's something that I didn't think about when we first started. When we first started, I just started building the soil because I wanted a farm. I wanted, I didn't care about the raised beds yet. I just wanted to plant in the soil and build the soil. However, raised beds are pretty cool because what you can do is lay down a layer of thick newspaper or cardboard that you get free from supermarkets or anywhere. Just ask around. Trust me, I had a garage full of cardboard earlier this year. um, it's all gone. It's all been used, by the way. Lay down a layer, and the reason you're doing that is to kill off whatever's down there, kill off the weeds, kill off the grass, whatever was already there. You don't want growing up through your raised bed. Um, Once you lay down that cardboard, find something to you go get wood. And I hate to say that right now because wood has almost tripled in price over the last year and a half. If you go to get a 2x4, they used to be $3, now they're 10.
Yeah.
So wood's expensive. If you have another means to raise something up, go for it because wood's expensive right now. But once you find out how you're going to build it up at least 12 inches, and you can use wood chips in the bottom and then put just a light 3 to 4 inch layer of dirt, compost, any kind of bagged dirt you can get from any of the stores, and that's what you can grow in. Now, the only downfall of that would be if you wanted to do root crops, like if you wanted to grow
Right.
carrots. Beets would be okay. Radishes would be okay. Potatoes, you got to go pretty deep for potatoes. But any kind of root crop, you're really going to need to build your soil or have a very, very deep soil layer in your raised bed.
Right.
So it all depends on what you want to grow. If you're going to grow that root crop, then you're going to want very loose, very nutrient dense soil that goes pretty deep, 12 to 18 inches.
So if they're starting their suburban garden, their
Yes.
very first one, and they did a raised bed, and I don't know, it's the size of like, I don't know, two king size beds. I don't know what
Yeah.
size that is, at about that size.
Yep.
What are the vegetables that you would recommend putting in there? Because obviously root crops would be a tough one. So what
Yes.
should they start off with? What would be the ones you would recommend?
Um, Now this also depends on what your favorite thing to eat is.
That's
so,
true.
what?
If you don't like
So
eggplant, don't plant it.
yeah, like I can be honest with you. I was just talking to my students the other day about this. I can't stand eggplant. I've never planted an eggplant, so I would never grow that. I do
Right.
like tomato. So, focus first on think about what do you normally buy at the grocery store.
Hmm.
And that's what we always do because we can't grow greens here. We're buying those big organic pound things of
Yeah.
mixed spring mix and all. That's what we're doing because we can't grow it here, so we're buying it. So that's what we grow. So if you eat a lot of lettuce, if you like greens, if you like spinach, Swiss chard is amazing. I don't know how many people Swiss chard can be eaten in salads. It can be eaten. You can cook it. But we grew a 35-foot bed of Swiss chard last year that we harvested for 6 months. Not only did we have so much that we couldn't even eat it, we sold so much. We were selling pound bags at the market of it. I mean, it grows
Hmm.
amazingly, and we get the rainbow variety, so it's all different colors and it looks beautiful. So Swiss chard is a really earthy, very nutrient dense vegetable that I would recommend if you're looking for health. If you do smoothies, if you have anything where you want a lot of greens, go greens heavy. If you like tomatoes and you want to can tomatoes for tomato sauces, go with some type of. Oh man, tomatoes are difficult because most tomatoes are indeterminate varieties, which means that they continue to grow up. So we could probably eventually when we get to this and we talk more about tomatoes, we could get to the video that we wanted to share,
Mhm.
because the way we grow tomatoes at Rootbound Farms is
You want to
very
pull that up now? I mean, I can do it right now.
sure. Yeah,
I didn't
let's
know
go
if
ahead
this
and
was a
do it
good
now,
time.
because
So let
we
me
do.
get that
Yeah, go ahead.
open.
We do a method that's called hard pruning, because we grow our tomatoes up and not out, and we focus on one lead stem. So the video that we're getting ready to watch right here is going to be last summer, and I'll kind of explain it as it goes through. So what you're looking at right now is where the tomato plant comes out of the ground. Now we'll follow this entire stem coming up. It comes up, it comes up, and it continues to go all the way up, wraps
Wow.
around, and it goes all the way to the top of the hoop house. Now what you're looking at right there, that white spool that you're looking at, is from Johnny's Seeds, and they are extremely cheap. They're $1 each, and you can trellis your tomato plant up that. And what you're looking at right there is called a sucker. That's the term for it. And what I'm going to do is show you how I pull off the suckers of the tomato plant so it stays with one stem. I just rock it back and forth right here and just pop it right off. If I wasn't to do that, that tomato plant would grow out and it would become a huge mess of a tomato plant.
Hmm.
So this is key when you have limited space, because if you don't hard prune your tomato plants, if you don't pull off each one of those suckers, the plant will just go wild and you'll have 75 different stems coming off the plant, and then all of the nutrients go to all of those 75 stems instead of just to that lead stem. The big reason I do this is for airflow, and this is what I explain in my YouTube video. If you have tomatoes or any other crop growing and it doesn't have good airflow going beside those crops, you're going to have disease. You're going to have tomatoes get the leaf disease called early blight, and it destroys the entire crop. We've had 2 years where it destroyed our entire tomato crop just because one plant got it. So,
Mm.
and if they're planted too close together, if you don't have good airflow, then that's what's going to happen. So you can go ahead and end it. I think
Okay.
that was about it. But that I was showing you kind of what. Oh, I don't know. You can continue, because this is,
Oh,
I
I can.
forgot.
Sure.
Yeah, part of this video, if you want to keep playing it. These are what I call the field tomatoes. So I did the same thing last year. This is the first year I've ever trellised the tomatoes up outside too, just like I did inside. So you can see these are much smaller. That right there shows you what that hoop house does. These were planted at the exact same time. The hoop house tomatoes were about 5 to 6 feet longer or taller. So
Okay.
this kind of goes to something else. Season extension. Season extension means, can you get a little bit of a benefit by extending your season a little bit? And I do that with that hoop house. The hoop house extends my season by a month on both
Hey, but
ends.
real quick, since we're looking at this right now, right above
Yes.
you, right up in
Yes.
here, you have this black stuff.
Yep.
Explain what that is.
So that is a shade cloth, and that shade cloth is not there because of the tomatoes. That shade cloth is there because what you're looking at, we are in July, and that
Okay.
sun, you can probably see my shirt. It looks black, but it's not. It's brown. That shirt is soaking wet with sweat because it's probably 95 degrees outside.
Okay.
That shade cloth saves our greens from getting burnt. So that shade cloth is pretty much over the majority of our greens bed, and that's another season extension right there, because most greens can't stand heat, so they will wither, they will die, and so that's the reason for the shade cloth. It's a 50% shade cloth, so it cuts the sun and the UV rays down by 50%.
Okay. Cool. All right. Do you want
So
to
yep,
stop
that's
the video, or is there more you want to
yeah, go
see?
ahead and stop the video. I'm sorry. Now I'm getting
Okay.
into so
Yeah.
so pause it right there. This tomato plant right here was a good example. I like experimenting on our farm, and this was one I didn't trellis. So you can see I did not trellis this tomato plant, and I did not hard prune it, and it just becomes a mess on the ground. And back
Yeah.
in the day, 200 years ago, this is how people used to grow tomatoes.
No, no, it's
Tomatoes
not
and
back in the
cucumbers.
day. That's how our garden looks.
No, but I'm saying it was a common practice. It was a common practice for people just to plant tomato seeds and cucumber seeds out in a field, and they would just vine and let go,
Right.
because tomatoes and cucumbers are the types of plants where the stem will actually root itself. It will continue to find soil, and it will continue to root and root and root, and it'll vine along the ground just like it vines
Hmm.
up. So
Okay.
vining it up is, to me, more neat, and it produces more fruit, and also pests don't get to the fruit. If you let it go on the ground, you're going to get worms and pill bugs, potato bugs, whatever you call them. They're going to eat through your fruit. You're going to have half your tomatoes and cucumbers will be eaten by pests. So
So inside the hoop house, you had it as a string that was kind of holding it up, right?
yep.
But when you're outside, that's not possible. So do you use stakes, or what is it that you're using to keep it going upright?
So if you can reverse back in the video, I don't know if you can go
I can
scroll
give it a
back
try.
until
Let's see. I
when
don't
I
know.
when
I
I
don't know if I can or
started
not.
when I started this spot when I was talking about the outside part.
Okay, so probably
Um,
around here, but maybe a little
a
further.
little bit further,
Let's
you'll
see.
see I built see the 2x4s.
Ah, I see it. Yep.
So yeah, I built I basically buried the 2x4s 3 feet down, and then I built a railing along the top so I could
Mhm.
have them there, and I did that also to hold up the shade cloth.
Ah,
That was
okay.
something I built last year so I could hold the shade cloth up over the greens. Last year during the pandemic, I'm going to tell you, we built the ship while we were floating, man. We had to go along with the times. We had people, so many people that wanted greens. So I mean, we had orders. We would put all of our bags of greens on our website for pre-order, and we would harvest 50 pounds of greens each week, and they'd be gone within 2 days from pre-orders on our website. So it would be one of those things like, if we could have grown double, we would have sold it.
Right.
There were some weeks last year that we harvested 50 to 60 pounds of greens, and we didn't have any greens for ourselves. So
No.
like we sold all of them.
You're
So
going to the grocery store while you're selling your greens.
yes, no, we didn't do that. We saved
Right.
we saved some for ourselves, but it was borderline. I mean,
Right.
my wife Janine was like, come on, we're doing this for ourselves. Why are you selling all this stuff? I mean, but like, I
Yeah.
mean, it was demand. The demand was insane for people knowing where their greens and their vegetables came from. And last year it was just amazing. It just, everything kind of flowed together to boom our business. Well, unfortunately, a lot of other people were suffering because of the pandemic.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're definitely serving a good role in the community, so that was good. And you benefited too, but that's fine.
Yeah.
So I do want to take a pause right here. Just we
Mhm.
usually only go 30 minutes, but I think we have a few more things to talk about. I just feel
Okay.
like we're just delving into just a little bit more. But
Gotcha.
I do want to remind people that if you have any questions about your particular situation, we have Woody here. Let's use them. So you can type in the comments on both either in Facebook or in YouTube, however you're watching it. Just type in whatever your question is, and we can ask them while we're here live. Take advantage of this opportunity. So just want to remind people you can do that.
Yep.
So I had a whole bunch of other questions, and some of them you've kind of covered. So one of them is the no-till method, and I
Yep.
noticed in one of your videos you used something. I think it was called a bio rake.
So it's called a broad fork.
Oh, broad fork. Why do I get a
Broad
bio rake?
fork. It,
Whatever it was called. Yeah. Okay. But
hey,
anyway, so
whatever.
what is that, and how does it
That
work?
sounds pretty sophisticated as well.
Hmm.
So
Make
a
up stuff.
broad fork. If you could think of a miniature version of it, if you've ever seen one of those really rigid digging forks that you can dig down in the soil and you can break the soil up. A broad fork is a gigantic version of that. It's basically a huge welded steel fork that you put into the ground about 18 inches. You shovel it down into the ground, step on it, and you just lean it back. And what that does is it breaks up the soil and brings oxygen and air down to the soil without disturbing it. Well, it disturbs it slightly. It's about the least amount that you can disturb it. And not only does it bring oxygen and air down to the soil, but it also, when you throw any compost or you throw bone meal, blood meal, any kind of organic nutrients you throw on it, will then penetrate the soil. So that's kind of part of
Hmm.
building the
Okay.
soil with the no-till
Right.
method. One thing I didn't mention about no-till, I mentioned when you till, you bring up those dormant seeds. The no-till method, in theory, after 4 or 5 years of using it, you should have almost zero weed pressure at all. You
Hmm.
should.
All right.
However, we still do because we sometimes use our own compost,
Yeah.
which we don't have that down to exact science. We probably never will. And also, whenever we have piles of mushroom compost that we amend the soil with, sometimes seeds fall from trees into it. So
Right.
it's
Yeah.
inevitable that you're going to have weeds grow. But we have so many less weeds since we don't till, and our soil is just unbelievable. I mean, I just we're actually selling this weekend. We're selling. We made 6 buckets of compost that we're going to sell, of our
Ah,
homemade
cool.
compost. We're going to sell at the market this weekend.
Very good.
Yeah.
All right, I have two more questions to
Okay.
ask. That one of them is that you said that you do the seed starts like inside of your greenhouse and your hoop house
Mhm.
beforehand. Do you have to do that if you're starting off doing your suburban garden? Can you just put seeds directly in the ground, or do you
Yes.
have to start them with inside something else beforehand?
No, you so the main reason that let me back up a little bit. There are certain types of plants that you would want to start from seeds. And also there's certain type of plants that the seed companies would recommend that you start them inside. So they're big enough once you put them outside to withstand and be healthy enough to withstand the elements outside. However, we don't start anything inside anymore because we don't have enough space. So that's the reason I built the nursery greenhouse. So you don't have to start in a seed start, especially things like lettuce. Lettuce, there's types of plants that are direct seeded plants. Things like lettuce, radish, beets. I'm trying to think. I mean, you can direct seed anything, but the
Okay.
the problem with direct seeding is a lot of times you overseed, and you would not want tomato plants growing like lettuce,
No.
because you want your tomatoes at least 12 to 18 inches apart from each other
Right.
so they can get up enough nutrients. Tomato roots, I mean, we've had our roots go down 12, 18 inches, and they also spread out 3 feet, so those roots, they need to get big, so you need that space. So anything that's going to need space, we tend to start as a seed in a seed start. I mean, in a plant start. Sorry, I keep saying seed start. Um, Anything that you can grow right next to another thing like leaf lettuce,
Hmm.
then you can direct seed.
Okay.
So, well, I also direct seed carrots. Carrots are one of those crops that you would not want you root so any root crop you wouldn't want to do a plant start with, because the root is what you eat. So
Right.
you want to direct seed that it will have a better chance at the beginning to grow bigger.
Okay. So radish, carrots, those type of
Radish,
things are
carrots, potatoes, of course, because
right.
so I didn't realize many people didn't know this, but when you plant to grow potatoes, you have to plant a potato.
Right.
Like
Or
a
portion
lot
of
of
a potato.
or a portion. You can cut the potato, but a lot of people don't realize that's why when you have potatoes in your kitchen for a while and they grow the little eye on them, that
Right.
eye is the plant start. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Baby
a lot of people
potatoes.
yeah, a lot of people didn't. I found that out the other day. A lot of people didn't understand that to plant a potato, you plant a potato.
Right.
you know.
Yeah, it is a very unusual plant because not most plants it doesn't work that way.
And
So,
even what's even
so
more unusual is our sweet potatoes. When we've planted, so we've grown sweet potatoes before, and sweet potatoes are very odd because you're actually eating the root of the.
right.
It's a tuber. The
Yeah.
roots grow long, and then all of a sudden the root goes
Right.
and blows up, and then another portion of the root goes and blows up.
Right.
So it's a really odd plant. But growing your own potatoes, I will say, I've never been a huge potato fan, but when we grow our own potatoes, they are absolute the best thing I've ever eaten. Like honestly, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's our soil. Maybe it's just because we put the hard work in. I don't know, but they're amazing.
You know what? I think that's true of all food. I mean, when you grow your own food, I mean, there's a lot of things. One, you know what went into it. The second thing
Yep.
is that it really is direct from your garden to your
Yes.
table. And wow, there's no fresher than that. And it is
Can't
makes
get
a
any
huge
fresher.
difference. It's a really big difference. So,
Yep.
I mean, I definitely appreciate you sharing all your knowledge today. I mean, I think that I know a lot about gardening and I learned things today. So that's exciting.
Good stuff. I love
So
it.
is there anything you want to add that you really think that we didn't hit that people really need to know about how to grow food in small spaces?
I do want to say a few things. One of the biggest misconceptions about growing food, I hear this all the time because I have a unique perspective because I'm a teacher full time, but I'm also a farmer, and I hear this all the time with people. People always say I would have a small farm or a garden too, but I don't have a green thumb. So I don't even know what that means because
Right.
honestly, all seeds need to grow are a place, a home. They need to be in something, and they need water and sunlight and a little bit of nutrients. Most times, they don't even need nutrients. If your soil's great, you don't even need nutrients.
Right.
Anyone can grow anything. It takes a little bit of time. It takes a little bit of, it takes a lot of patience. My wife will tell you that I'm the most impatient farmer in the world. I will pull a carrot up when it's 2 inches just because I want that carrot, even
Yeah.
though if I wait a week or so, it'll be double or triple. I'm very impatient, but so you need patience. But anyone can grow, and you can grow in any amount of space that you have. The the people that walk by our house and don't know that we have a farm in the backyard, when they find out we have a farm, they are blown away at what we've done with the little tiny bit of space we have.
Right.
It's I mean, and I welcome you guys. We're going to have farm tours, so please pay attention to our social media, which is all behind us right here.
Yeah. And we're gonna put that up in a minute too.
Good, good.
So
So that's one thing that I really want. I want everyone to understand. This is why we're doing this, and why I started the YouTube channel, why I'm so active on social media is I want everyone to understand I'm not just in this to make money and grow food and sell it. I'm in this also to let everyone know that everyone can do what we're doing. It's not that difficult. It just takes a little bit of effort. I mean,
mhm.
you're not going to be able to do it if you're just sitting around watching TV all day. That's not going to happen. You
Okay.
have to have a little bit of work ethic. But you can easily grow your own food.
Yep.
I mean, all of it,
Yeah.
unless you got to buy your meat somewhere. I can't. I'm not allowed to. The town of La Plata won't let me butcher my chickens. So
Okay.
yeah, I'm not allowed to do that.
And you probably don't have too many steers running around back behind you either. So
No, no, no. We don't.
little
That's
small
another
stuff.
thing. So, that's one exception. If you're going to be a farmer that's going to harvest meat, pigs, cow, whatever you're going to harvest, you need land. I couldn't do that here. When
Right.
I'm talking about growing vegetables.
Right.
So you don't need a lot of space to grow vegetables.
Very good. Well, I mean, I very much appreciate you sharing everything. And I know that if you are local, not everyone is that's watching this, but if you are local, stop by. Woody, you sell your goods at the La Plata Farmers Market and
Yep.
and some other issues. I'm also going to put up. This is Woody's URL. If you go to
Yep.
rootboundfarms.com, you can find out how to reach him otherwise.
Yep.
He's immensely generous with his knowledge. And so stop by and buy his greens, but also stop by and pick his brain too. So,
I
um,
love conversations. Yes.
yeah,
Love it.
they're both good. So, all
Yep.
right. Anything else you want to add before we finish up?
No, I think that's it. I just want to say thank you so much. I appreciate the interview. I appreciate talking. That's one of my favorite things about being at the market. I love selling stuff, but I also love the conversations that I have with people. So if we can get more conversations like this, it would be amazing.
Yeah. Well, I think
Yep.
you've definitely started a whole revolution of people, buying local and also growing local. So
Yes.
thank you very, very much for everything you're doing for our community.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Great. Oh, you know what? I think we do actually have one quick comment. Oh,
Oh,
just it wasn't a comment, but it was like a comment, just very informative and great information. So,
thank you, Brenda. I
so
appreciate it.
thank you
Definitely.
very much, Brenda.
Yep.
And we will see you guys soon. I do have another interview coming up, I think April 8th, and it's on ghost writing. So if you're interested, if you ever had like a book idea that you're like, oh, I really wish I could bring this to life, we're going to talk about that next on April 8th. So, all right. Well, thanks very much, Woody, and we will see everybody soon.
Thank you so
Bye.
much. Appreciate it.